Hi, I am Scott Herbst. I am founder and president of Six Flex Training and Consulting, and you are listening to or watching The Flex. This is a podcast where we have conversations with people who are expressing leadership with the intention of giving you access to expressing yours. Today on our show, I'm really excited to introduce you to Melissa Rigby. Melissa is a board certified behavior analyst and the co-owner and CEO of Gateway ABA. They are an agency that provides center, home-based and community-based services to kids with autism in the southeastern region of Massachusetts. As usual, I'm going to really let you hear Melissa's story from Melissa. And Melissa, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Scott.
My pleasure. I'm really excited. Where I always start this is just with an invitation to tell as much of your story as you'd like. And what I definitely, where as far back as you go, what I really would appreciate that you include is what had you go from just knowing something about your field to the choice to open your own company and take that leap.
Sure. So I have been in the field since about 2012, 2013. And I actually started in the field because my oldest son has pretty significant ADHD, and we were with a therapist who was using ABA principles, and I just started to fall in love with the science. And so after a couple of years of that, I actually went back to school. So I started working in the field of ABA, and then I went back to school for my master's at Northeastern University. And I became a board certified behavior analyst. And I was working for a company at the time, and they just didn't have the same values as what I valued. So in 2020, we all know what happened at that point. And unfortunately, we watched a lot of companies in our area do really crappy things, and they put profits over people. They left clients with no services and staff really with no support. And that was just not the environment that I wanted to be a part of anymore. So I reached out to a friend of mine, Jean Reese, who is also a behavior analyst, and we had worked together. Fun fact, we also went to junior high and high school together. So we've known each other for a long time, and I just reached out and I was like, I'm done. Are you done? And she's like, I'm definitely done. So we started Gateway, and we became an official business in May of 2020, and we started doing billable services in September because you have to get credentialed with insurance companies and all that good stuff. So it took us a little bit of time to get going, but we really thought that we would just provide ABA services between the two of us, and we would supervise each other since we could do that. But we grew really rapidly, and we had over 10 staff within the first 4 months. And then, eventually we opened our clinic because we found the need for such clinic-based services. We live in Massachusetts, which is a pretty high cost of living state, and families need to work. And so for our kiddos in the little age, their typical placement would be daycare. But our kiddos can't go to daycare because they need some extra support. So we're able to provide intensive ABA services within the center-based, as well as do in-home services and community-based services for our adult clients. We service all ages, 0 to 64. We always joke that we don't go over 64 yet because none of us BCBAs are trained in geriatrics, but we love our adult clients. So it is my lifelong dream to open a retirement home for all of us. And we will absolutely be able to do that because we will have received the appropriate supervision and training for geriatric ABA once that time comes. But we really just wanted to have a place where people were valued and respected, and our clients were getting high quality, compassionate, trauma assumed ABA, and there just wasn't anywhere around, so we created it.
Yeah, awesome. I hear that a lot from different owners that they saw something missing, and rather than go out and try to wedge it into a company that wasn't really interested, um, they chose to found their own company, right?
Yeah.
You said you grew really fast, and what I didn't share when I introduced you is that you and I go back a little bit. We've done some work together, and
Yes.
so I know you're more than just 10 employees now.
Yes.
So I'm curious, what well, what was it like to grow that quickly? Starting with this intention, like, it's going to be us. We're going to provide really great service to, oh, wow, now we're 10 people or 12 people. And oh, wow, now we're more. And oh, now we've got a clinic. Um, Tell me about that journey and what you've learned, and um, where you've got stop, start, pick up and go again and adjust and so on.
Great question. It was terrifying. So there was a couple of times, like very clear moments that we opened our first clinic in January of 2022. And it was around that time that, everything was going so fast. And we were really like, our mission was to provide that high quality trauma assumed ABA, but also to give our staff a place they were valued and respected. And within like 2 months of opening our clinic, we realized we were failing at our mission. And it was because we grew so fast and we weren't set up to be as big as we had gotten to that fast. So we actually went away, Jeannie and I went away to a conference, and that was the first time we were able to step away from the business since we started. And while we were there, we did two really big things. The first was that we restructured our entire organization. And that was because people were bringing us their questions and concerns. And as owners and BCBAs and owning a company, there was just not enough time to get everybody's questions answered and resolve all the things. So there was a huge lack of communication. And it wasn't intentional. It was that there physically wasn't enough hours in the day to get everything answered out. So we restructured our entire organization so that our staff have teams. And each week our teams meet, and this still continues now, where our teams meet weekly so that they can build on, share any clinical wins, any challenges that they're having, get any questions or concerns answered. And then we usually do a prompt for the week, which comes out in our weekly newsletter of just, it might be like, hey, what are you doing to refill your cup this weekend? Or it might be, let's talk about behavioral momentum and how to utilize that in your sessions and just like tips and tricks. So the prompt varies each week, but it really just gives a place for all of our staff to feel valued and know that they're heard. And then every week, all of our clinicians, so our BCBAs, our SLP, all come together for what we call the red meeting. And in the red meeting, that's where any red flags that came up during our team meetings get brought to the table so that we can get questions and concerns resolved before going into the next week. And that was how we found that communication was able to be resolved. Now, that's not the only thing, because as you know, we did a lot of work with you, Scott, in the courses that you offer, but it really came down to getting our clinical team, as far as our senior level clinicians, really utilizing communication skills. And that was a huge barrier that we had faced because Jeannie and I knew what we wanted, but we weren't ensuring that all of our clinicians had that. So really systemizing how our clinicians are able to lead was really helpful too. And everybody brings something different to the table, which is great, but this was really important. And then the other part of what we did was we created our company culture. And within that, we
Hey,
identified.
can I
Yeah,
interrupt you?
yeah,
Because I wanna back up, kind of way back. I'm really interested in, I haven't heard someone, or it's rare that I hear someone say just that plainly that we were failing at our mission.
yeah,
And um and I think that's a really powerful statement. Um, because I've seen a lot of well, I've just seen teams fail and then continue failing. And like it's almost like going to denial. It's like there's this a breakdown, but this like I don't want to confront the breakdown. And so I want to hear just a little bit more of like what that was like, how uh how it got obvious for you at a point where you like said to like we are failing in our mission, and then really like owning like we're failing, what that made available, that like in turn like how you saw that opened up new action of like we're going to take a step back, we're going to implement some new things, we're going to go see what there is to learn, etc.
Yeah. I think that for us, growth is a core value for us. And I believe that, growth is a core value for me personally. It's a core value for us as a company. And with that comes the need to be able to recognize when something's not working and how to adjust to make it work. And
Yeah.
I think for us, being open about that is really important, and we want to communicate that to our staff because we all have room to grow, and that's really important. I actually tell people in interviews like growth is a core value here, and growth is hard, and that's okay, and we're here to support you. But if you're somebody that's not open to growth, this just isn't going to be the place for you, because I want to set that benchmark. But I also think it's important for leadership to demonstrate that growth is hard and demonstrate there's going to be times you get it wrong. And for us, I don't think we realized until we like had that chance to step back how much it was impacting not just us and our mental well-being, but our staff too, because they didn't feel like they could bring their concerns and that it would be resolved. And that's a really crappy feeling when you have people, at that point, we were at about 30 to 35 people. And that is really crushing to know that like you are not living up to what you promised. And, there was a huge lack of integrity there, not that it was intentional, and not that it was for anybody to blame, but it was an opportunity for us to see like we are not meeting our mission because we are not systemically designed to be this big. And how can we fix it?
Mm.
And that was really important for us. And I don't know if we didn't go away, if that would have been as obvious. Jeannie always loves to joke because right before we went away, the number of times she was asked how to fix the printer or like put paper in the printer, something to do with the printer. That was for her the moment like, what are we doing? Like, this isn't working, that people are asking me, I'm trying to get work done, like how to fix the printer. That's an easy thing. You don't need to come to me for that. But then important things are getting missed because we have these mundane things that are getting brought to us. So, I don't know if we would have seen that had we not gone away to this conference, but I mean, I think eventually we would have. But it really, when you're so in it, you're so hyper focused on doing all the things as an owner. And, we're a small business. We are not backed by private equity. We are not backed by funders. Jeannie and I joke all the time, like there's no trust fund, and like really rude of our parents, right? Just like not giving us a trust fund. Just kidding. We don't come from that kind of money. But so everything we have is built on what we invest in it. So there's not a lot of room for that administrative piece. But if you can't meet your needs, you've got to figure something out. And I think being an owner and being flexible is really important, to be able to recognize like, hey, this isn't working for me. This isn't working for my team. And again, like it goes back to growth. You have to be willing to grow. And I tell our staff, like, I want to be comfortable giving you feedback, but I want you to be comfortable giving me feedback. And that's the only way we can grow in this organization and make it all that it can be.
I'm always looking for how this can apply to anyone. And so not just like a business owner, but even someone who is just in their first management position and gone from doing this job to now being accountable for overseeing people doing that job. It's very distinct things. And so one thing I'm hearing is that first, just to underline again, like to actually say, like, this isn't working, right? And to be that straight about it. The next thing you said it a couple times was that you don't know that you would have uh, seen a solution if you didn't get away from it for a little while.
Yeah.
Did I get that right? Because
Yeah.
you didn't say it just that way.
No, I think you did get it right.
Yeah. So, but I think that's a really powerful thing because one thing I know that happens just to people is that I mean I do this in my business where like something won't be working and my immediate reflex is, well, then I got to do more of what I'm doing. Like I got to do more, right? But what I'm doing isn't already isn't working. And
Yeah.
so is more going to do it? And oftentimes it doesn't. So I appreciate the taking a step back to get perspective. And for you, it was going to a conference. I do think that one thing I'm appreciating in what you're saying, or you tell me what your thoughts, but one thing I'm hearing is it wasn't just like, I'm going to get away and not think about it but it's going to like, I'm actually going to move, like do this intentionally where, yes, I'm going to be thinking about it, but I'm going to be thinking about it in a new environment with new people, with, like the not distinct from who I'm usually talking about and where I usually go for solutions.
Yeah. I think a piece of advice that I've always held on to is to hire people smarter than you. And I think it's a really important thing to consider. And you don't have to physically hire them, right? But like it's really important to surround yourself with people who bring something different to the table. It can't be your friends, right? Your friends are there to be like, oh, you're doing such a great job. Yeah, you've got this, right? Like that's important, but that's not what you need when you're faced with a challenge and how to overcome that challenge. So being able to step back and be surrounded. So the conference we went to was for the Behavior Analyst Leadership Council. That was in Miami, which like beautiful place to be. We actually made all these plans while we were sitting poolside. It was great. But in there was so many incredible leaders and individuals who are known for thinking outside of the box, and being able to engage in those conversations helped with the perspective. I think another big piece of advice that is really important, and I think this is work that I've done on myself just as a person, but also as a leader, and some of the things that I've been able to pull away from your stuff, Scott, is that like even though it's going to feel weird, right? Because this is not how we were conditioned to think, but be open to consider like maybe you are the problem, right? And that's okay. And like, what can we do to address that? And I feel that that is a really important lesson and a skill because, I have seen in various industries that I've worked in, because I've worked in a variety, is that when leadership becomes so hyper focused that like it's their employees that are doing something wrong, you're really missing opportunities to not only grow your skills, but then empower others around you to grow. And then you have you're missing out on all the cool things that could be happening because you aren't willing to take a step back and consider, hey, you know what? Maybe it works for me, but it's not working for my team. And that's a problem. Um, yeah, it's just like it's exhausting to have to train new people all the time, right? And it's exhausting to try to get people to think the way you think, but what if they don't need to? It's really
Yeah.
important that they all bring what they bring to the table. And everybody has different perspectives, and being able to learn from different perspectives is really important. Steve Nuttleberg is does some really cool stuff. And he presented at a conference that I went to, and he just said, I no longer offer people my opinion. And that's
Mm.
because my opinion is driven by my history and what I've done in my life and my perspective. So what I do is, instead of giving my opinion, I give them my perspective and I walk through that with them. And I think that's really important. And I I worry that as a society, we've kind of lost some perspective taking skills. But as leaders, you really need perspective to be an effective leader. And you need the perspective too of like, maybe it's me. Maybe I need to work on something.
I was in a seminar once, and the point the guy made, and they did a really masterful job of demonstrating in the seminar. But the point was that it's like, if a ball is bouncing off a backboard,
Hmm.
that if you change the angle of the backboard, it'll bounce differently. And his point was that as a leader, it's like you're the backboard. And if people keep bouncing that way, maybe change your angle. And and I found that to be really profound. I find that demonstrated in my own life. Um, Most recently, if I can share,
Yeah.
um, just my wife and I would get like habitually fights around this one thing, and it was travel. Like anytime we would get ready for travel to go somewhere, we'd fight leading up to, like, we'd be great traveling for the most part, but like reliable for fighting on the run up, and and like one thing that was there, uh uh when I let go of the idea that she's the problem and took on that maybe it's how I react to her, um it completely transformed, where I was like, oh, okay, she likes to get ready like this. Well, I can actually let her like to get ready like that. And
Hmm.
and by the way, it wasn't even like I had to change how I get ready. It was just like I just have to like let her give her space to express her way of getting ready. And then I can get ready by packing at the last minute, and yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
um
I think that's a great example. And that, you know, this mindset is not just for work too, is it's personal, right? Is like
yeah.
we're so conditioned on the good, bad, right, wrong. And really it's that there's nothing good or bad about it. It's just a different perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned, I want to back up a little bit. You mentioned creating your culture.
Yeah,
And I imagine it wasn't like you sat down at the like Play-Doh Fun Factory and squeezed out a culture.
that sounds
Um,
so fun.
wouldn't it be
I'm gonna
great?
do that.
um, but talk a little bit about that.
Sure. So I have worked American Eagle Outfitters. I worked for them forever ago. Um, and they had this concept called employee first. And there was a ton of research that was put into it. And there's way more that I'm gonna go into, but that employee first mentality where like you invest everything into your employees can invest everything into the work that they do. And then that's where like the payoff comes in, right? Where you're really getting good quality, either sales or services. And I really have always fostered that. So I wanted to bring that into our company culture because I think in the fields of applied behavior analysis, it is so it's a very fee for service model, right? If services don't happen, then people don't get paid. I've worked that job. I've worked that job as a single parent. And man, it is hard to have financial stability, which is like a part of that psychological safety. When you have clients that are going to cancel, and they're going to cancel, right? Like kids get sick. There's appointments, you get sick. If you're a parent, your kids get sick. So there's always going to be something. But if we could find ways to invest everything into our staff could invest ways to invest everything into the clients we service. This is where you get that, you know, if people have steady paychecks, they're going to show up for work. Some of our employees that we have found at other places were working at Dunkin' or Target full time. And not that those are bad jobs, but the reason they were doing that is because it offered them financial stability. And man, there are a lot of individuals who need our services. And to lose out on awesome people because of the financial piece, we wanted to do better. So we are first and foremost an employee first company, which means we will always invest everything back into our staff. Our staff, that doesn't mean our staff are happy all the time with the decisions that we make or that they get their way all the time. And I'm very clear about that because employee first to us.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that because I think people could hear that, oh, employee first, you really give the employees everything they want. And
Yes,
so I
no.
did want you to talk about a little bit like how do you have employees first while also setting boundaries that honor like the need to make a profit and deliver great services.
Yeah. We have had that conversation, and you can talk to any of my staff because we're very clear about it because I didn't want that confusion to happen. And I say it in our interviews so that people know right from the gate, like, oh, this is what they mean by employee first. And we actually have it written out as a policy of what it
Mm.
means to be employee first, so that there's clear communication across the board. What it means is that we offer salaried positions. So here's a few ways that we are employee first. We offer salaried positions for our full-time staff so that they have a steady paycheck week to week. And that allows for that psychological safety, which is really important because you have financial stability. You just have to meet your hours, which are typically 30 to 35 hours a week. And you have that steady paycheck. So even if a client cancels and you're doing admin work, you're not worried about, oh, I'm going to get paid less because I'm doing admin work. For Jeannie and I, we're not in it to make crazy money, right? Like it's not how it is. And if anybody who's started a business knows that's not how it goes. But to allow our staff to have that financial stability is really important to us. And we'd rather make what our BCBAs make, which is what we make, than like bring home crazy money, but leave our staff without that financial stability week to week. So that's really important to us. Anytime we start to turn profit, we invest back into the company, into our staff of adding a new benefit. So we've added a holiday every year, and we've done 401ks. We've increased our percentage that we match. We now offer, we've actually offered it for about a year now, but dependent time. So we know it as working parents. When your kids get sick, you're the one staying home, and that eats into your PTO time. And that stinks, right? And unfortunately, like in our country, more times than not, it's the mother that is staying home, and we're a women dominant field. So what we do is a dependent time. So every year our staff get extra PTO time that goes towards dependent care. So when they have to stay home with their kids, we add additional PTO to their bank so that they don't have to just use all of their PTO time and they can actually save it. We do quarterly staff events, so different ways we can support our staff as a community in being able to support each other. We have had clients that we were servicing for 30, 40 hours a week, and the family did not treat our staff appropriately. We had one family who was engaging in some pretty racist behavior towards one of our staff. And we are not going to tolerate that. We will refer out for the client and their family, but we are not going to allow our staff to be in an environment that is not okay for them. That was, you look at it from a business standpoint of like, okay, you have 30 to 40 hours of revenue coming in, but it wasn't worth at all like
Yeah.
creating a place for our staff to feel unwelcome. Um, we invest in a lot of trainings and helping our staff grow their skills. We work on we do surveys to see like what our staff are feeling and that kind of stuff. And everything comes down to how we can support our staff. But we do set clear boundaries is like, you're not going to get your way all the time and you're not going to be happy with every decision we make, but every decision we make is what's in the best interest of our staff as a whole. So that's kind of how we have that employee first part of our company culture.
Yeah. One thing I really heard that I think anyone can take away is the importance of setting clear expectations.
Mm-hmm.
I think um well, I know when I've seen this a lot where people are unclear of expectations and they have different idea of what the unspoken expectation is. That leads to a lot of upsets, whether it's in a personal relationship with a team or across an organization. And it really does scale up to the point where like when you're talking about an organization, that's where stories about how this place is start to arise and circulate, or how, well, this is like just what it is like working for that person on this team, right? um so I think that's something anyone can take away. And I appreciate all you're doing for to support the growth of your employees.
Yeah. I
um Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say I think that something that we do in interviews that is really helpful is at the end of the interview, I bring just a random employee. It's never the same person, only one person that I select. I want to be able to grab anybody, and they get to be in my office, which doesn't have video cameras. I don't ask the staff what gets asked, they don't tell me, but I want our staff to give a true glimpse of what it's like to work for us. And I think that that is really important to me in speaking to like how our company culture is because I really want people to tell others like how it is here. And
Yeah.
if there's things that are going wrong and not working, one, we should have already addressed it. But that's on us. That's not on our employees.
Awesome. Couple more questions. We are getting about to the end of the time we set aside.
Yeah.
um what's next? So we've talked a lot about what you've done to get where you are. What's next for you, both in terms of where you're going to take your company, but also how you see yourself growing as a leader as you take your company there?
That is a great question. So we are actually in the middle of launching um a new platform for us, and it's called The Light, and it is tools, resources, and support for BCBAs. But what we have found is that there's a lot of interesting information out there and some different trainings. And for us, we're not, it's kind of the same as like the services that we were seeing be provided, is there's not a lot of stuff that we really are like, yeah, we can get on board with this.
Yeah.
So we are ACE accredited so that we can provide continuing education and learning opportunities, and to help kind of align with one of our core values of growth, we are going to be putting out some continued education programming, and some of that is going to be in the area of DEIB. We see that DEI is getting cut left and right, and this is really important for us. We're a women-owned company, and we service individuals with disabilities, and we want to make sure that we are helping keep the narrative alive and help shine light on it because it's so important. Another part of what we're doing is Jeannie, my business partner, has created a really cool clinical fellow program for anybody that's going for their master's in ABA. And with that, it's going to have supports for supervisors to have like really accessible, practical lesson plans to help facilitate a really effective supervision program. Most of us BCBAs that have been BCBAs for a bit now can tell you like our supervision was not that great and our unrestricted activities were not that great. And this kind of helps shape it so that we have really awesome BCBAs right out the gate. And then another leg of this light program is going to be OBM, and OBM stands for Organizational Behavior Management. And that is something that I am really passionate about. So I will be kind of carrying the leg on that, but I am going to be working with Melanie Page in growing my skills in OBM. I fortunately have a minor in business administration, which is also kind of where I started to get my foot in the door in the OBM stuff. And I have lots of experience. So I really like that part. But we really want to get content out there that is valuable for people and not just fluff pieces or just another, the same story. And then how you grow as an organization and being a leader. There's not a ton of good trainings on just like the importance of soft skills like that. Cooper didn't cover that. So that is going to be what we are on to. As far as the business goes, we are not looking to be a giant organization. Unfortunately, we see the effects of that, and we want to ensure that we meet our mission, which is high quality, compassionate, trauma assumed ABA, but that our staff are valued and respected. And we don't feel that within a large organization, those values really get to hold the same. So we're not looking to really grow Gateway as an ABA provider much bigger than what it is. But with that, what we can do is grow our impact and our footprint in how service centers and ABA clinics can function and grow and be a really awesome place to work at.
Yeah,
And I
awesome.
want that for everybody. I want you to
Yeah.
love where you go to work, and whether it's an ABA or another field, like, man, we spend a lot of time at our job and we should love it. And if we don't love it, it's time for a change.
Awesome. Two more questions. What are you proud of?
What am I proud of? I am proud of, I have 5 boys, and I am proud of them and all the work that they do. They're really awesome kids, and they bring a lot of fun um, and chaos, but I'm really proud of them. And I was a teen mom. I had my oldest when I was 18, and he has been with me for the whole journey. And I was able to overcome the statistics of like when you have a child in your teens, like you don't amount to anything. And Jeannie and I laugh all the time because we are both in the same position, right? We're both co-owners of an organization, but she got to have way more fun than I did. So I am proud that regardless of what life has thrown, I'm still here and ready to make the world better.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And then my last question is, if people would like to, how can they reach you?
Sure. They can always reach me by email, which is melissa@gatewayaba.com. That is a great way, but I will preface that with I get a lot of emails, so be patient and feel free to bump a reminder because sometimes I need it. Um, or they can reach out by phone. I have a work phone that is also available.
Awesome. Melissa Rigby, thank you so much for coming on our show, sharing about your journey and your insights and your energy. It has been a real pleasure. So thank you for being here.
Oh, thanks so much, Scott, for having me.
Absolutely. And thank you for listening to The Flex. This completes this episode. Of course, if you haven't, subscribe, click the like button if you're on YouTube, and we will see you back here next time.